Protesters in Michigan fed up with the governor's stay-at-home order. Watch this. Of course, we see there dozens of people descending on the state capitol yesterday, calling for an end to the shutdown order that they say has gone too far.
This arbitrary blanket spread of shutting down businesses about putting all of these workers out of business is it's a disaster. It's an economic disaster for Michigan, and people are sick and tired of it, and they're fed up.
So that was Operation Gridlock that you were seeing the video. Joining us now for the latest, Mike Detmer, candidate for U.S. Congress 8th District. Mike, good to see you. You were at that protest. Were you in Lansing? Kind of set that up for us. What did you see? What was going on there, and what were they protesting?
Well, in Michigan, the governor has really stepped outside the bounds of any type of legal authority. And that was an absolute outcry. People, good patriots from all over the state that came together to say, you know what, enough's enough. It's one thing to have social distancing, to wear a mask, to wear gloves, to be safe. But what our governor's done here is just what the lady said that was the protest yesterday that you played. She's carte blanche closed most of the businesses in this state. You've even got independent contractors. You've got builders, you've got remodelers, realtors, home inspectors. The list goes on and on for these people that can't work, that don't normally associate with other people doing their jobs. And then what makes it worse is that these same individuals can't even file for unemployment. When they go into the state system, they get the spiral of death on the computer screen and still can't get anything for it. So it's time to reopen it. And one of the suggestions that's been made to the governor is, look, it's not the whole state. The whole state isn't ravaged by this. It's certain areas. Let's start to reopen this in a responsible way so people can get back to work.
Right. You know, I was reading up on some of the rules set in place by Governor Whitmer. Some of those being, you know, you can't go out in a boat, you can't go out on a jet ski, you can't go fishing, you can't go to your, summer home on the lake, you can't plant seeds in your own backyard or get the seeds to plant in your own backyard. I mean, is this an attack on people's personal liberties at this point?
Well, absolutely it is. And that's, again, that was the whole point of this, was to say, you know, enough's enough. If people are going to stay home, they've still got to be able to function. And everybody's been warned, well, don't go to grocery stores because you have a lot of people that might be spreading the virus there, but you can't buy seeds for your garden. You can go out in a kayak or a canoe, but if there's a motor attached to your boat, that's a no-no. You can't do that. You can go for a walk in the park to walk your dog, but for the golfers, you can't go out and play a round of golf, even if you're by yourself. So it smacks of a little bit of haste, actually a lot of haste, and not a whole lot of common sense put into it. And people are fed up. We're at a tipping point here where the people of Michigan are saying, you know what, the cure can't be worse than the disease, which is the same thing that President Trump has been saying over and over and over again.
I just want to ask you, and I'm glad you pointed that out, because if you just breeze by this story, you see citizens protesting stay at home. That's not what they're protesting. It goes far more than that in Michigan. So much so, there's a press release put out by Benzie County, the sheriff's office. 4 sheriff's deputies have essentially speaking out, saying that the governor is overstepping her executive authority here. What's your response to that? Now you've got sheriff's deputies saying, hey, this is not right.
Yeah. Well, if you really want to jump into the weeds, you have to go back and look at some Supreme Court cases from really back towards the turn of the last century, which we're talking about. It talked about quarantines. Do the states have the right to quarantine people? And almost the cases that are out there, what was determined is states have the right to quarantine sick people, but not healthy people. And the whole point of that was to get the people that are infected with whatever the disease is away from the healthy public. What she's done and what other governors across the country have done, they've really gone far beyond this, and it's restricted people. Here in Michigan, for instance, the latest executive order, which fell right over the Easter holiday, the Easter weekend, was it told families that it was illegal to come together for Easter dinner. Wow. Now, if you've got families close and you call your family, hey, is everybody well? Nobody's been out. yeah, let's go have some Easter dinner. That was against her order, and that was subject to a fine.
Now, we know that,
you know,
yeah, I mean, we know that Michigan, unfortunately, has a lot of coronavirus cases compared to the other 50 states, you know, of course, following the major hotspots on the East Coast. But you were suggesting potentially looking at a county-by-county basis for these restrictions?
well, certainly, if you look at the map, Wayne County, unfortunately, was hit very, very hard, and the surrounding suburbs, including here in the 8th District, you know, we've had more cases than, let's say, the northern part of the state, the northern part of the Lower Peninsula or the UP, where cases are really almost non-existent. So to shut the whole state down, instead of looking at county by county and looking at the number of cases, that might be the more appropriate approach to start opening this state back up, is to look at the hardest hit places and say, you know what, we're going to be a little bit more restrictive here until we get a little more flattening of the curve, which, by the way, is taking place even in the cities like Detroit.
All right. Well, we hope you stay safe and healthy during this time. Mike Detmer, candidate for U.S. Congress, 8th District. Mike, thanks for joining us.